Right. Good evening, everybody. This
Evening.
week, I thought we would have a look at the import dialog in Classic, and I'll hopefully talk you through the philosophy of importing that I've devised over 15 years or whatever it is using Classic. And with most of my in life, what I do is I work out where I want to get to. So if I'm going on a photography event, oh right, okay, so I want to go to Bath to the Christmas market and photograph the street photography. Oh, do I want to go on the train? Do I want to drive? Do I want to? And then what hiccups? My due diligence of going there. Oh, the train could be cancelled because it could be snow, and then I could be so I look at all the problems to get to my end task. And I found that in Lightroom. Oh, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to get to. And work backwards from that. So we all shoot different types of narratives and in our photography and all different types of images. And some of us perhaps will do video as well. So I really recommend that you just sit and go, where do I want to go to? And it's okay to not have all the answers. But it could be you sell images or you put them with stock agencies. So keywording and description and IPTC data is important to you so people can find your images. Where if you don't sell them, you just need to find them. So identifying a workflow that speeds up your processing time is really important. So we will have different workflows. Okay. And I will talk you through different tools and skills that you may or may not want to use and explain the reasons why. So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm pointing out things that you could do that are applicable to you. And that's my teaching style. So let's share screen. Okay, so I'm in Classic here. This is my training catalog. I've got roughly 900 images or so in here. Now, I always suggest that we work in collections. And the reason why we work in collections is folders are only available in the library module. So you'll only see this panel, folders here in the library module. Collections are available in every module. Another reason why I say we should work in collections, you can have the same image in multiple collections, and you can have with virtual copies different stylization of the same image in different collections. So, for example, you might have a black and white version, you might have a less contrasty version, and you can organize those collections however you wish to do. They're totally flexible. And the last main reason why I suggest we have collections is that a collection you can share with your devices in Adobe's ecosystem. So perhaps you might have a second computer, or you might have an iPad or a tablet or a phone, or you might want to access those images away from your computer, i.e. on a web browser, or perhaps with friends and family, you want to share them with them. You can only do that in collections, where folders is a fixed place of storage. Collections are a link back to the folder and the image, and they're totally flexible. So that's one reason why I say we should all work in collections. Now, the reason why I'm saying that now is to you is that we don't have to, but one workflow is setting up a collection before we start to import. Now, we could be really organized and create a collection set. A collection set is a group of collections, like a folder within a folder, or if we come away from photography, you could have a drawer, and inside that drawer you could have folders or some sort of filing system. So I'm going to create a collection set, and I'm going to call it today's date. So, oops, somebody wants to come in. So I'm going to call it today's date, which is the 13th, and that is a collection set. And in there, I'm going to put a collection. How I want to group perhaps all my images, or my first import of images. So just for argument's sake, I'm going to say first import. Now, I can sync this to the cloud. That doesn't mean I'm going to share it with anybody. It means that I'm going to put them to the cloud, and I'm going to have access to them in the cloud. Okay? And I could have access to them to digital asset manager, manage the images. So cull them, for example, on my phone on the way to work, on the train, or sitting downstairs whilst I'm doing something else, spending time with the family, or sitting in the garden. I don't need to be sitting here. So this is another reason they're flexible. Collections are flexible. So I've selected my location of the first collection for my first import. So I'm going to hit the import dialog button. Now, most of us will know this dialog, but I will quickly show you. Down the bottom left-hand corner, there is a little triangle, pointing down triangle, and we get the mini import. And this is for if you're doing repeat imports of the similar images of similar destinations, so there's less real estate being used. So let's open up the main dialog again. The left-hand side is where the images are coming from. So it's your source. Okay, so we can select a location wherever we want to select them, and I've got some images here that I may like to import. So this is where they're coming from. It could come from a hard drive, it could come from a camera, it could come from a SD card, CF card, or anything you like. And we can see I've got new images. So these are images that are not in my collections at the moment. So down the bottom, I can choose a grid view, which is what we're currently in, or I can choose my loop view and look at the image. I've got uncheck all and check all. So at the moment, you can see they've all got a tick on them. That means all of them are going to be imported. I don't want that. That doesn't mean that you might not, but I'm just showing what the tools do. I'm going to untick them all because in this import, I only want to import the first two images because they're the same narrative. And I'm going to tick the box. So these two images are going to be imported. The rest will be still sitting where they are at the moment, but not imported. It's 18 images in total. At the top, we've got how am I going to import them? Am I going to adjust them? Am I going to change them? Am I going to move them? So in this case, I can either copy them as a DNG, which is Nikon's RAW format, digital negative. I can copy them, which means it keeps them in the file format. I've got a NEF and a TIFF there. I can move them. I do not recommend moving them because if something happens, let's say your drive unmounts, you could corrupt the file if you move it. You can copy it and then go and find the original and delete it later if you wish. That's the same result of moving them, but you're protecting yourself. And then we have add, and all add does is tells Lightroom Classic, the catalog, these images here, add them to the collection. So we're going to copy them. So all I'm saying is copy these two images to a location, I'll show you that in a second, and do something with them. Now down the bottom on the right hand side of the main section, we've also got a thumbnail slider, so we can actually see the images bigger if we so wish. We can change the sort order, so time of capture, or we can change to file name, file type, etc., and we can go backwards or forwards. So this is down here. The right-hand panel is what we're going to do with them as they go into Classic. So the first box is the drive they're going to. And if we come down to the bottom, we've got destination. So where do I want to put them? So put them in Lightroom, into my training, into my images, and it's going to go into 2024, and it's going to go into my filing structure. I'll explain that in a second. So it's going to copy them, these two images, from this location. It's going to keep them in the same file format, and it's going to put them in a folder into my workflow of a date and time structure. Because to me, a photograph is a moment in time. The narrative is IPTC, which is the data, keywords, description, and so on. And I can use that IPTC data in smart collections. So how do I identify these to what folder I put them in? Well, Lightroom is very good at doing that. You can just above the folder structure, you've got organized by, and we can put the original folder by date or into one folder. You can put all your images wherever they're coming from into one location. But I have by date. And then I can choose my format. So my format is year, month, day. So it will put those two images on the day I shot them because they're a moment in time. I'm not worried what they're about. I just want to put them in a folder moment in time. That's my workflow. You don't have to do that. You can put them in a folder, put, a type of bird or something like that, or if it's a wildlife, or if it's a car, or if it's a wedding, or something like that. So, file handling. What's file handling about? In every module, apart from the develop module, you see a preview. A preview is what we're looking at here. It's a JPEG representation. When you're in the develop module, you see the raw file. So it has to create that file. We can create a minimum file, an embedded sidecar file, a standard file, or one-to-one. And as we go from top to bottom, the file gets bigger, the actual megabyte size of it. And we can adjust these sizes in our catalog settings. So that's Lightroom Classic catalog settings, and you'll see this previews. So standard is okay for me. Now, smart previews are a small raw file. And what that allows us to do, if you're using something like a laptop with a large storage device, and you want to take your laptop away, it allows you can edit your files and print a file up to around about a 10 by 8 at 300 dots per inch. So it creates a small raw file. Now this again is around about a 2 or 3 megabyte file, so it takes up storage on your computer. So the next thing we can look at is importing duplicates. If we tick this box here, Lightroom will look at the catalog and compare the images that we're going to import and say, are they already there? So we tick this box as well. Now, Depending on your workflow and depending on the type of photography you do and whether you have customers, you might want to make a second copy. And you could do that at the same time. You can tick this box, choose a location, and as it imports, Classic will put a second copy of the original file with any file renaming in that location, but will not add or change the EXIF or metadata or any develop settings to it. It will just put the raw file as captured with the change of any file name. It will keep it in the same file format as well. So it's currently a TIFF and it will stay as a TIFF or a NEF. In this case, I've got TIFF and NEF files there. Now, the reason why I set up a collection beforehand is I want to add to these two files to a collection, and because I synced them, it's going to be sharing them to the cloud. So I go and choose the collection that I want to share them in. And this is the collection here. Now I could do, if I hadn't set it up beforehand, I could hit plus here and create my collection that way. But just my workflow is I set the collection up first. And I will show you why I put them in a collection in a moment. So the next box down is renaming. You may have a renaming strategy, a file renaming strategy. I do have one, and that is all my files are named with who's the copyright holder, because I'm a portfolio photographer, the date and time it was taken, the original file name from the camera, which includes the camera name. So I'm a Nikon photographer. It could be a Z5, a Z6, a Z7, a Z8, or a Z9. So I can tell from the file name who owns the copyright, the date, the time it was taken, and what camera it was taken on. And I can do that in an instance of a second. And that information is important to me. So on on import, I've got a file renaming preset, and it will do that for me. So that's another action that Classic is doing for me. So I would tick this box. These images have already been renamed. Now, during import, what do I want to do during import? I can add my copyright information. That can be, let's pump up the details. So it can be something like, there we go, my name, so who's the copyright owner and who's the description writer. There's the copyright information, and my URL. There's my address, my office, my shop phone number, my email address, etc. All this information is all in a preset, a metadata preset. Okay, this is burnt into the image. So I want to apply this to every image that I import. I can change it in the future if I wish and apply it to an image, but it's going to do that. But here's one of the important things. The way I work, and I'm just suggesting this is what you could do, but it's giving you some tools. I can add keywords to these images on import. And if you have a keyword list already, it will look at the keyword list and offer a suggestion to you. So I'm just going to type in the word Dunster, and it would appear if that keyword was in my list. And in this case, it's not. So it's going to create the keyword, and it's going to apply it to that those images. I'm also going to put a comma because that separates keywords, and I'm going to type waiting room. That's not in my keyword list, but it's going to apply them to those two images. As I say, if I had images or keywords that were already in my hierarchical keyword list, I would select them from, as I started typing, they would come up in the list. So let's see if There we go, Minehead. Minehead's already in there. It's already, I'm not duplicating the keyword. I'm going to use the keyword that's already in there and apply it to those images. Okay, I'll press return. So now I'm ready. I can import them into there, and I'm just going to go import. And it's going to take those two images, it's importing them, and it's doing several actions. So it's put them into this collection. If we look top right-hand corner, it's syncing them to the cloud. It's kept them in the same format. But if I go to keywording, there's my keywords. Okay, so it's applied that. Now in this preset, so if I click on this image here and open up the metadata and go to IPTC, it's got my address, my name, and everything. In that preset, if I had, so let's go up to metadata, edit preset. If I had a preset with things like headline, which is title, this is a legacy workflow from the print industry and other medias. If I had in there a title, it would apply it to both those images. If I come down to the image data, and if I had location in here, so for example, I used to do a lot of sports, and one of those was cricket. And I would have a metadata preset that would have the cricket ground information in there and who was playing. So Somerset versus Glamorgan. All this would be populated already and saved as a preset. So when I went to photograph them and auto imported, all this information will be there. Keywords as well. So if I come down, I've got IPTC status, I've got title, identifier. I come down to the bottom, I've got keywords. All my keywords would be imported. So Somerset, Taunton, English cricket, pavilion, all these words, they would apply them on import. So most of my digital asset management would have been done import. And you can have multiple presets. Now, while that's been doing that, I've been watching the syncing. So I've imported those two images, and I've just done two at the moment, but I'm going to get to Lightroom as a simulation. This could be my iPad. This could be a web browser, and I'll open a web browser. So I'm going to type lightroom.adobe.com. And I'm now looking at Lightroom on a web browser. So I could be anywhere in the world. And there are my two images. Two. In the cloud. And I can edit them here if I wish. Let's minimize that. But this is, I'm simulating it. I could have this on my iPad or my phone. It's exactly the same thing. I could cull them. I could pick or reject the images by pressing X or Z, U to unflag them. So I could do my attributes. I could edit them if I so wish. So I'm going to take this image here and I'm going to do a bit of editing. And I could be downstairs doing this. Okay. Or on the way to work and doing this. Okay. And it's going back to, I'm going to leave that now to sync. It will come back to here. Okay. So that's one thing that we can do without importing our data. Using it in the cloud as a part of that. And you're not sharing with anybody else, you're just sharing it with yourself. But what also we can do is we can import again, go to my import folder, and you can see those two images have disappeared. Okay, because I've already imported them. Because do not import duplicates. And I'll untick them all. I'm going to take the first three images, highlight them, but I'm going to put them in a different collection. So I'm going to do this a different way now. I'm going to go apply during import. There's my metadata. I'll type in Minehead, comma, Exmoor. There's Exmoor already in my keyword list. And during the import, I'm going to add them to a collection. And to show you, I'm going to put them in a new collection. So this is second import. I don't need to sync them to the cloud. Press create. And now it's created me that collection. So both do the same thing. Okay. And again, I'm going to put them in the same location, which is here. I'm going to go into that folder there. Standard preset, and just press import. And it will just import those and they'll appear here. Now, if you ever get pulled away or stuck or not sure where are those images gone, you'll always see the last import on your screen. But if you click away, let's go back to here. Those are, oh, what ones have I just imported? I've lost them. Where have they gone? Oh. If you come up to the catalog panel, you've got a quick collection and a previous import collection. This is a dynamic collection. It changes each time. So you click on the previous import. There is what you've just imported. Doesn't matter the location you've put them to. It's a smart collection or similar philosophy, and it shows you the last 3 that you put in. Now, one last thing. Let's say you photograph a lot of repetitive images and everything stays the same. Well, you can save that. And how you save that is once you've set everything up, so it's coming from this location, it has these keywords, it has this preset. Okay, you save that. If we come down to the bottom, right down the bottom here, we have got a little box that's defaulted as none. We click on that, we can create a preset. And what it does, it saves everything that's in these locations. The location it's going to, our keywords, our presets, everything, and even the develop presets. So this box drop down here, just above the metadata, we can develop all these images in a particular style. So let's just say I'm going to choose that preset here, and this is Exmoor, and I'm going to call it tree. And I can save this as a preset. So save as, and everything I've got here, I'm going to call it Exmoor tree import. I've just saved this as a preset. So what that means is next time I go to import it, everything that's here, all I have to go is click and come down here, choose the import and go import, and that's it. It's done. So going back to the start of this, when I said working out where you want to get to, using that import preset, because you've worked out where you want to go to, helps you speed up your workflow. You can have all your metadata, your location, your keywords, your develop settings, your renaming structure, your file conversion, all those things automatically done in 1, 2, 3 clicks. So working out where you want to get to, and in a minute, these will be processed in the style I've asked it to process them in. But if we go back to, lastly, go back, there's that image that I edited on my iPad, a lot brighter than that image. So I was working away from Classic on my iPad on the train to work, and I was still working in Classic. And there we go. Anyone, any questions? Yes, Jay.
So that imported both to the folder and to the collection.
It imported and put the image in the destination in the folder structure and made a link to a collection.
in the
Correct.
collection, right.
Correct.
Now, I'm in the mode of doing base edits and
Hmm?
then doing stylization.
Yep.
Do I do the base edits in the folder or in the collection?
My workflow is you do everything in a collection. So you will do a base edit in the collection, then you will create a new collection with virtual copies and stack that underneath it. So first stylization. Why? Because if you've gone in the wrong direction, it's easy to click back onto the original collection, create another collection, and start again.
Okay, so um, the image gets put into the folder, then it gets linked. I would call it a base collection,
Mm-hmm.
name base,
Yep.
and then you would, after you finished, you would highlight them all, create a new collection, and copy the with
Yep.
a virtual copy of the base collection
Yep.
and edit
Yep.
on.
So
Okay,
let me show you that. These are the two images. Let's just, for argument's sake, that I've already created base edits to them. So I've straightened the horizons, I've done my black and white point and so on. So I'm happy with that. And now I want to stylize them. I might want to make them black and white. I might want to take them sepia. I might want to make them vivid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create virtual copies. Okay, so I'm going to go right click and create the virtual copies. Okay, so there's my virtual copies. I'm now going to, and there's more than one ways of actually doing this, by the way. Okay, so I'm now going to show my virtual copies because I've turned the library filter on virtual copies. And now I'm just going to create a new collection and let's just call it first style. And I'm going to include the selected photos. Okay, so there we go. So we've now made a collection of those two images. Okay, in that format. You could do them another way. There's another way of doing them. So
right,
let's remove them from that collection. So all I've done, I haven't deleted them. I've removed them. Okay.
right.
Highlight these two images. Press create a new collection. And I'm going to call it second style. Include selected photos. Make a virtual copy.
Right.
So I'm doing it once now, and I could sync this virtual copies. So I press create, and there we go. Now the difference is it hasn't kept the original virtual copies in that collection, where before I had two in there. And there's the images as virtual copies. So there's more than one, sorry, there it is. So there's more than one way of doing it.
Now, is there any harm, or not harm, but I tend to do the base edit in the original folder, and
Mhm,
then I create a collection
mhm.
uh, and make it a virtual copy. Is there a reason that you would advise me not to do the edit in the base edits in the original folder?
It's To me, it's all about workflow. There's nothing wrong in what you're doing. If
Right,
that's the
right,
way you work, that's the way you work, and that's fine. The priority to me is speeding up my workflow, so I'm spending less time here. I'm out taking pictures, but doing the same thing all the time. If I'm using half my workflow in folders and the other half of my workflow in collections, it's a little bit confusing for me. So if I'm working everything in collections, I always work in collections. So let's say I do a panoramic, let's say I do an HDR, let's say I do a focus stack and take it off to Photoshop. If I'm working in a collection, the panoramic, HDR, or focus stack all return back to the collection. If I'm working in folders, they only stay in the folder. It doesn't get added to or I've manually got to drag it and
right.
drop
I
it.
get it. I
Yeah.
get it.
So working in collections, it's a single narrative. So just changing subject to emphasize the point, back button focus.
And actually, if you do it in the collection, it does put it back into the folder too.
Correct, it does put it in the folder as well, yes. But if you do back button focus and deactivate metering of the shutter button, so you press your back button focus, it focuses and locks if you're using continuous focus, and use your shutter button to take the photograph. Every type of photography that I've ever seen in 30 years of being a full-time commercial photographer, you're doing the same action. I'm focusing, I'm shooting, I'm focusing and shooting, whether that's a product, whether it's a portrait, whether it's a moving image. So each time I'm taking photographs, I'm doing a repetitive task.
Got it.
And that's one of my methodologies. I want to get better at something. So I learn a system that my brain, and bearing in mind my brain is silly and it's different to all your brains, I understand it. And that is the bit. Where do I want to get to? Whatever it is in life, where do I want to get to? How do I go on that journey? How do I get on that journey of importing my images smarter, not harder, reducing my workflow? How can I automate things with presets?
Right. Right.
And it gets me 80, 90, 95% of the way to my end task. And that's one of my methodologies.
Okay. I've got a small question. How
Mm-hmm.
did you get the copyright sign? I have my name in the copyright field, but how did you get the copyright
Command G on
symbol?
a Mac.
Pardon?
Command G or Control G. Because
Control
you've got a Mac with a
G.
PC keyboard, so it's Control key, I think. Control G on yours. It's
When you're
Command
in
G
that
on a Mac.
field, yeah, okay, so that
Yeah.
brings up the copyright symbol.
Correct, correct.
Thank you.
PC is something like Control Shift 169 or something. Yeah, I'm
But I'll
get,
be doing it on the Mac.
yeah. Simon's nodding. It's some combination of Control Shift, and then you press 169. I think something like that.
Uh,
I haven't worked on a PC in Adobe for 10 years. So I do PC, but I use that for Microsoft Office.
right, right.
So, but yeah. So, anyone else? Any questions?
Can I just ask a quick one,
Yes,
Mark?
David.
I ended up with many, many collections. So I've gone away from collections and I've just been
Hmm.
searching groups on sort of keywords and narrowing them
Hmm.
down that way because I just end up with so many different elements in a collection.
Hmm.
That's probably not a good thing or a bad thing, but there must be some way of managing collections. Do you delete them as you go along?
So, firstly, you are not deleting, you are removing. You can only delete from the folder structure. You're deleting a file. You're removing an image or removing a collection. Okay, and there is a subtle difference. Okay. Another reason why I work in collections is that I'm not deleting. How many times have we deleted a file and go, oh, that's the wrong one. I've messed up. What am I going to do now? Thank you, Simon. Simon's put it's Alt 169 for on a PC for the copyright symbol. So thank you for that. So that's another reason why I work in collections. I can press Command Z or Control Z and it will put it back. Regarding management of images and collections, just remove them, sort them out into a structure, a filing structure of collection set within collection set. So I have in my work catalog, I have a collection set, one narrative called projects. So that's a collection set and it's hierarchical. Underneath that, I will have different projects. I've got about 80 lists, 80 collection sets under projects. And then under each individual project, I've got more collection sets that are specific within that. So let's just make it up. Dunster Beach. Okay. I take my dog there a lot there on Dunster Beach. And I've got sunset, sunrise, I've got low tide, high tide, and I've got a list of about 100 collections inside one collection set at Dunster Beach just for low tide. And it's how I group them together. And all I do is I can go click and use the search bar to find what I'm looking for. And a lot of them are smart collections. So the image automatically goes in there by keyword. I haven't got to do anything. So again, it's going back to that, designing a filing structure by narrative, by processing status, by have you culled it or not. I've got a main collection set called WIP, work in progress. Underneath that, images not keyworded, images that were taken 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, and inside those collection sets, I've got smart collections that say not keyworded, not flagged, not rated, not labeled, not this, not that, this, that, what camera are they taken on, what this on, and they're all smart collections, and it's my workflow. So I need to do, bear in mind, I've got over 400,000 images and still on about probably another 100,000 plus slides to scan. And each day I spend an hour a day going through, sorting out what I want to keep, making sure the metadata is correct, sending them to agencies, sending them to museums, sending them to libraries, making sure they go into a publication or something. And that's my work. So having loads and loads, I've probably got, as a number off the top of my head, 8,000 collections. So, and most of them are smart collections. So the action of writing Dunster Beach as a keyword will put it in a collection, and then I'll either filter the collection with my attributes to pick, not picked, edited, not edited, have I exported it or not, and so on. And it's all automated. So working out how you want your collections, and we can do that on one of our one-to-ones, David. Working out how you want to do that is not a problem. Okay.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Oh,
Anyone else any questions? Yes, Jay.
when you change the name on import,
File name.
file name, does that change the in the folder in the original location? Does that change the name of that?
It changes the name in the operating system. In the catalog, Lightroom retains the historical imported file name, and you can revert back to the original name pre-import it.
You would revert back within Lightroom in the catalog.
Yeah. In the renaming presets, you can put the field to original. So you'd save just the field as original, and you'd save it as a preset, and then select the image that you want, and just select from the preset original file name, and it will change the file name pre-import. So let's say the image was called ABC123. And then when you imported it, it was MSP 2024 1113 underscores 019 underscore NZ9 1234.dng. That was the new file name. That is one of my file naming structures, by the way. Okay. But it was originally ABC12345. Okay.
Right.
If I use the preset called original, it would revert it back to ABC12345.
Can you do renaming, if you already have your files in Lightroom, can you use a preset to rename them?
If Lightroom has changed the file name, yes. If you change the file name outside of Lightroom and Lightroom has not got...
No, if you're inside Lightroom
and
I want to do a renaming structure like an import, but I'll highlight a set of images, and then can I apply a preset to that set of images?
Yeah. So let's see if I can find. Right. So let's just do it to this one. I'm going to change file name. It's because I had a filter on. So there you can see, change the file name. I go to this image, so I can show you on a big screen, change the file name there. So it changed it, so it's 753. I go to library, rename, change to original. Press OK. It puts it back to the original because that's what it was imported. Okay. So,
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So I hope that helped you.
Yeah.
The biggest tip I can give you that I've learned over 12 years, I think it is, of using Classic, if not even more, is look at your final destination, where you want to get there and how you can speed up, what little skills, what tasks, what drop downs that you can put in presets, save all those presets in the bottom preset, and that can be 80, 90% of your work. Okay.
Yep.
Right then. The recording, if you want to watch that, should be up tomorrow, possibly Friday, and we have another topic next Monday and next Wednesday.
Great.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a nice
Thank
evening,
you.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.